Do you ever work 60 plus hours a week and still feel skint at the end of the month? You're not alone. After years in the construction industry, surrounded by subcontractors, site managers, business owners, we've realised this. Good at the tools doesn't always mean good with money. Hi, I'm Dan. I'm a QS and business owner, and over the last 10 years, I've built a business that gives me the freedom to manage my own time and work on my own terms. A big part of that journey, learning solid money habits. I've stayed anti-debt, financially free, and now I help others in construction do the same. That's what this channel's all about. Systems, processes, and strategies to build a business that works for you. Our first gift to you is the 31 Ways for 31 Days email series. Sign up below. It's an email direct into your inbox every morning with a tip that can help you run your construction business. In today's video, I'm going to give you my best tips that I think are keeping you poor. Let's get into the first one. Paying yourself last instead of paying yourself first. Here's the honest truth. Most people in construction pay themselves last. You invoice a job, then pay suppliers, cover materials, pay for some fuel for the van, pay all the lads, and then what's left? Not much. When that money hits your account, pay yourself first. Even if it's just 10%, treat it like a non-negotiable expense. It's not selfish, it's just basic business. You can't build a sustainable company or even a life if you're just running on empty. You need to keep money in your personal bank account. It's a bit like the analogy pouring from an empty cup. If you haven't got enough money in your personal bank account, it's just going to affect everything day to day, and then you'll start taking on work in the business that really you didn't want to do, and working for clients you know you're sort of looking to avoid. If you've got that safety net in your personal bank account, you're giving yourself a chance. Getting comfortable with bad debt. Stick it on the card. It's such a familiar statement. People are so comfortable putting debt on credit cards. Tools, equipment, materials, even holidays. If you're using credit cards to fund your lifestyle instead of building your business, that's just a trap. Credit card debt is 20% interest at times. I don't want to hear the excuses about like balance transfers and 0%. It's going to get you eventually. No job you win is paying that level of return. If you can't afford it cash, don't buy it. Use debt for growth, not gratification. Away from all that, I accept you might need a small bit of debt at first to help your cash flow, but the first aim of any business has got to be to return that loan and get debt free. It's not a time for buying new vans or moving house or buying new cars because you've had a good couple of months. Keep everything tight, get some wool on your back, because when winter does come, you've got the money there to try and trade through it, but at least the business is trading and you can keep going. And obviously, while other people are going bust, the longer you go, the more relationships you're going to get with clients, the more relationships you're going to get with operatives, and the whole thing's going to become easier. But you can't do that if you're going to go bust as soon as it gets difficult. No emergency funds. In construction, jobs always fall through. Clients delay payments, vans break. If you don't have at least 3 to 6 months of a buffer, every setback becomes a crisis. Even if it just starts small, 1,000, 2,000, save a bit each month, and that then becomes your emergency fund. Over 3 to 6 months, you might have then, a fair few thousand that can just help you, but you'll be glad when you've got it when things get messy. This should also happen in your personal finances. So before you let lifestyle inflation creep in, start putting a little bit in your current account, at least sort of £1,000 for emergencies. Then you want 3 to 6 months of living expenses. If anything does happen with work, or there comes a time when you can't maybe take some wages, you've got that 3 to 6 months living expenses, so it's not affecting your home life when you're getting home from work and worrying about everything else that comes with running a construction business. And then obviously from there, you should be looking to put something into a pension as well, a little bit more long term. But earlier you put money into a pension, the more it starts to compound and the more you'll thank yourself 20, 30 years down the line. Not knowing your numbers. You wouldn't quote a job without measuring it first, so why are you guessing with your money? If you don't know your income, expenses, margins and tax liabilities, you're just operating blind. You have to start tracking it. Whether you're using a spreadsheet, an app, or even a QSK template, whatever works for you, just make sure you know what's going in, what's going out, and what's left to either reinvest or save. Another one is using Xero. There's too many contractors who just think having an accountant is almost like a badge of honour. You go and see them once a year with a shoebox full of receipts. You should be tracking your numbers daily, weekly, monthly. Now with software like Xero, you're backed by billions. You're paying £50 a month for software, which 10, 15 years ago, you'd have needed a full-time bookkeeper just running them numbers. It was to cost you $20,000 a year. Now it's costing you £600. There's no excuse for not knowing how to use Xero. I don't expect you to be an accountant or even a high-level bookkeeper, but not knowing how to reconcile things like basic things like creating invoices, reconciling fuel and the right thing, reconciling your expenses, your materials. You should know what your P&L is every single month. You should know what your balance sheet is, which is a snapshot snapshot in time of your business over the numerous years you've been trading. P&Ls is obviously a snapshot of that month, and then at the end of the year, you'll do a 12-month P&L for the whole business and how you've got on. Thinking saving alone will make you wealthy. Saving is just step one, but it's not the finish line. There's a cap to how much you can save. There's no cap to how much you can earn. So yes, cut back on wasted spend, but also look at ways to grow your income. See if you can raise your rates, see if you can offer a new service, see if you can start a new sort of angle within the business. You can't save your way to financial freedom. You have to build towards it. The other big thing here is, again, I touched on it before with pensions, but getting money compounding for you is better than just keeping it all in a current account. We'll do another video on that, but stuff like 212 or Hargreaves Lansdown, getting money in a stocks and shares ISA, it's really going to help you down the line in terms of the compounding that's going to create each year. And obviously, with us being in construction, if you are looking to buy property, whether it's domestic or commercial, that's another way in which you can store wealth, which is going to keep up with inflation over time. That's what we've chose to do in our property business, as well as personally with stocks and shares ISAs, which essentially we treat as our pensions. They're the things that obviously day-to-day income is important, but getting that money working for you while you sleep, that's equally as important as you build and grow your business. Not understanding tax. Tax is likely your biggest bill, yet most people don't understand how to manage it. We're not talking about dodging it, we're talking about knowing the rules, using business expenses, how to use tax efficient accounts, working with a proper accountant who gets construction. You need to stop overpaying because you don't get it. That extra money can go into materials, training, God forbid, even some time off. I often say the tax man is your silent partner. Corporation tax now is 25% of your profits. It has to be managed. You've got to know day to day what you can claim, what you can't. Again, back to my earlier point, this is not a job solely for your accountant. There's enough things out there now with Google and ChatGPT. You can learn. Challenge your accountant. Say, look, I've learned this. What do you think? Is there anything we can do here? Never obviously stop learning, but particularly when it comes to accounts, a lot of business owners just put their head in the sand and think it's someone else's problem. But the more you research, the more you learn, that will compound over the years, as tax really is a massive expense that no one allows for. So just to summarise the previous points, not having debt really becomes valuable when times get tough. I know it's frustrating when you're doing well and people are giving you the advice not to sort of increase your lifestyle, but they are things that are going to get you down the line, and there's always time to inflate your lifestyle when you really are genuinely comfortable with your systems and processes. And even hiring staff, that could become scary at certain levels, but if you have got money in the business, it can really help you long term in terms of delegating and moving back and concentrating on more of the key items rather than the day-to-day. Again, in investing, whether that means buying property, whether it means maybe starting another venture within your existing business and funding that for a few months, whether it's property, whether it's even buying businesses outside of construction, which we've done. It's good to get experience in other industries, and let me tell you, they're not as hard as construction. That's another thing to always consider, keep at the back of your mind day to day. Not having an emergency fund is probably the biggest mistake that I see in construction. You can be sailing along very comfortable, all of a sudden you take a hit off a client you wasn't expecting, or you get a bill you didn't account for, and rather than just going, okay, it's wiped out my emergency fund, it becomes life and death in the business, and there's a lot of stress and a lot of worry. Really shouldn't have been there with the success you've had in the past. And finally, on tax, that's the biggest expense people miss. The government is absolutely a silent partner in your business, so it's good to get comfortable with that, understand it, and make sure you're allowing for it, because then bills will be coming. Death and taxes, it really is a very true statement. So if you're in construction and actually want to build wealth, then get these habits sorted. If you want help setting up simple financial systems for your business, we've built the tools, templates, and support systems that make this easy. Subscribe to the channel, drop a comment if you've got any questions, and follow QSK for more practical construction tips. Thanks for watching.